Hey guys, I'm Wolfie. Big news. Pete Carroll, the Pete Carroll of Seattle Seahawks, right? Who's recently an advisor role for the Seattle Seahawks, is linked to the San Francisco 49ers as a defensive coordinator, dude. That is crazy, man. Now, this is, of course, if we miss out on Robert Saleh, who's currently the leading man for the head coaching job in Jacksonville. But if we miss out on Robert Saleh, Pete Carroll is apparently being talked about potentially being the DC for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, Pete Carroll kind of runs an older scheme in cover three. However, I do trust Pete Carroll to adapt his defense to these new offenses. I don't expect him to just be like, I'm going to keep running cover three dominantly and just keep doing the same thing. Now, keep in mind, Vic Fangio, who's currently the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, runs light cover three. Same thing for Dan Quinn. Same thing for Robert Saleh himself. They all have somewhat of cover three in their defense. If Pete Carroll can adopt that same type of evolution with his mastermind in the defensive scheme and how he sees the defense and the bend, don't break kind of type defense, this could be great for us because not only will the players respect him, not only we feel like you have some same personnel and the players that he wants, but Kyle would respect him. Kyle would hear him out. If Pete Carroll wanted to say something, Kyle would hear him compared to other candidates out there. Robert Saleh being one of the other ones that Kyle Shanahan would listen to, right? If it was somebody else that was new, fresh-blooded, Kyle probably would not respect him as much. Now, Pete Carroll, though, carries that weight, carries the weight of winning a ring. He knows what it takes. The only problem that we have with Pete Carroll is that cover three defense. And is he able to evolve? I think he does. I think he has the mindset. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows that football constantly changes. It's a copycat league. New offenses are changed every single year. Strategies are changed every single year. And like Robert Saleh and Dan Quinn, where Dan Quinn is in an NFC championship game right now, he was an underling for Pete Carroll. Everything that Dan Quinn is doing right now was taught by Pete Carroll. So you're going to tell me that Pete Carroll can't adapt his defense and fix his cover three defense? Robert Saleh, another underling of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll taught Robert Saleh everything he knows. And you're going to tell me that Pete Carroll will not take this defense and evolve it? Because that's the biggest concern. And I do think he's capable of doing that. I understand that it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. But Pete Carroll's been doing this for a very, very, very long time, up and from his 60s all into his 70s. Right now, he's 73 years old. And if he becomes a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, he'd be 74. 74 by the time of the start of the new year in September. This guy, though, however, is not your typical 74-year-old man. He's uppity. He's giggity. He's super energetic. He's got the gum chewing thing. We all know that guy, right? And if he can come into this defense, come into this organization, I don't think it's as doom and gloom as some people are saying, where it's like, well, his defense is old. He just can't do it. No, like I said, I do think that if he were to come into this scheme, come into this defense, he would be able to adapt. He would see what other defenses are doing, probably still do some cover three. Vic Fangio is doing it, like I said. Dan Quinn is doing it, and so is Robert Saleh. Not as heavy as Pete Carroll recently does, but I'm confident Pete Carroll would come into this situation and adapt his defense. Because if he doesn't, obviously it would be bad. It would look bad, right? You need to adapt. That's the concern. I feel like he can do it. And again, Kyle would respect him. Players would respect him. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to being defensive coordinator. Do the players respect you? If the players don't like you as a person, they damn well sure be able to respect what you've done in the league before and what you bring to the table. And I think that's exactly what would happen if Pete Carroll were to get hired. I love this possibility. Am I going to be ecstatic? Am I going to be like, okay, Pete Carroll is better than Robert Saleh? He's a better option than Robert Saleh? Of course not, right? Robert Saleh is perfect for the job. He's proven that he's perfect for the job. He's proven that he's willing to adapt, and he has adapted to these offenses. Last year, even with the Jets, before he got fired as a head coach, he adapted perfectly. He was a dominant defensive coordinator and head coach. So if we miss out on Robert Saleh, I'd be a lot more open-minded than most people, it seems. He taught these awesome defensive coordinators what they know today in Dan Quinn, Robert Saleh, and Vic Fangio. Well, he didn't change Vic Fangio, but Vic Fangio does run a cover three at times. Pete Carroll can adapt that and still kind of have some of his philosophy of a bend, don't break kind of type defense where you where all everything's up front of the defenders. I think this would be great for the defense. right? Obviously, we need to get better in the trenches. The D line needs a significant help. But you got all the weapons in the world when it comes to the secondary. You got Mustafa and you got Jair Brown. You got Fred Warner, maybe a little bit of help at linebacker if we don't get Greenlaw back. We got Lenore and we got Green. That D line is fixed, and it's perfect for Pete Carroll to come in. If Pete Carroll says, "Hey, I need this D tackle, I need this D end, let's make it happen," I trust him because Pete Carroll knows what he's doing when it comes to the defensive line. He's responsible for some great players at that D line position, and that's our biggest weakness right now. So if we can just get Pete Carroll in, and if he's able to adapt, and I trust that he can, it doesn't just come in with like this 2016 type defensive scheme of just dominant cover three. I personally am a lot more open-minded about it than Brandon Staley. Let's be honest, right? Brandon Staley is the last resort kind of type defensive coordinator. Because I'm not saying that like Kyle doesn't respect him, but I got a feeling that like Kyle would say, if Brandon Staley said to Kyle, "Hey, I need this guy," I don't think Kyle would listen to him as much compared to Pete Carroll and what he had to say, right? I'm open-minded to Brandon Staley. I don't want it, but if it were to happen, I'd be open-minded to it. I feel like that's the last resort option. Personally, I'd much rather have Pete Carroll, even if he is 74, even if his scheme is old. Like I said, for the 100th time, I trust that he would adapt because that's exactly what he would need to do, right? He brings a lot to the table, I feel like, right? He's been there before. He's won a championship. One thing that Kyle Shanahan has yet to do. Do I want him over Robert Saleh? Of course not, but I think he would be a better option than the other option, which was Brandon Staley. I've heard that Pete Carroll is a possible candidate for the head coaching job with the Raiders. Now, we'll see how that works out. But if he ends up being the defensive coordinator, I kind of like it. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. See how it works out. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think this is a great idea, do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you love what he can bring to the table? Do you hate he won't learn from his scheme? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you haven't subbed already, be sure to sub. I make content just about every single day. It's something I love to do, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. All right, guys. All love, and I'll see you next vid.